The White House has said at times that effectively everything's on the table at tonight's meeting. But today we're learning there is one thing that aides say won't be on the table. It's North Korea's long record of human rights atrocities. Two Trump administration officials tell NBC News the U.S. has decided not to bring those issues up to keep the focus on the nuclear negotiations. Now, Amnesty International has reported North Korea keeps over 100,000 people in what amount to political prisoner camps and subjects some to forced labor, to starvation, and to torture. Last year, it was Trump himself talking about North Korea's atrocities against its citizens.
May live in the capital city. Those who score the lowest starve. All responsible nations must join forces to isolate the brutal regime of North Korea.
That was a discussion of isolation. Of course, the summit tonight, as many have pointed out, is the opposite of isolation for Kim Jong-un. North Korea's leader, they're snapping selfies today, projecting that image to the rest of the world. I'm joined now by Suzanne Nossel. She's the former executive director of Amnesty International USA, now CEO of PEN America. Ambassadors Michael McFaul and Chris Hill are back with me. Suzanne, what do people need to know about how North Korea treats its citizens, and do you think it should be relevant to these negotiations?
Yeah, this is one of the most, probably maybe the worst and most repressive regime in the world in terms of brutality toward political prisoners, total restrictiveness on freedom of expression. It is an ultimate police state. Every kind of human rights violation happens: extermination of individuals, disappearance of individuals, summary executions, torture, discrimination against religious minorities, against women, against the disabled. So, you name it in terms of human rights abuses, and the North Korean regime is doing it. So I think it always has to be part of the discussion. I think President Trump absolutely must raise it. It's crucial that it be known to Kim Jong-un that this remains a U.S. priority. I also think it's legitimate. This is a discussion about their nuclear program. There's some hope of making progress on that issue. And it's fair to make that the centerpiece of the discussion. But human rights needs to be part of it. It's also crucial he doesn't come out of this, with a big smile on his face and an embrace of Kim Jong-un, as if this horrific record can be just put aside.
So you're saying that it's understandable that it's going to be a background or smaller issue, but you don't think it should be zero, and you're concerned that Donald Trump, wanting to celebrate some part of this that reflects on him, effectively acts to kind of launder one of the worst human rights records in the world. Yeah,
that's a concern. He's so kind of spontaneous, impromptu, and if he feels like he has a political win, a diplomatic win, I can imagine he's putting his arm around him, gracing Kim Jong-un with all kinds of compliments. And I think that's a horrible risk here, that he sort of whitewash in any way this atrocious record, which he himself has spoken out about.
And Ambassador, as you well know, this administration and others have also made a direct link policy-wise between these kind of abuses and the way that North Korea operates as a potential threat to the world. I'm reading here from an October statement from the Trump Department of State. Human rights abuses by this regime remain among the worst in the world. Many of the country's human rights abuses, quote, underwrite the regime's weapons program.
Well, I think this is true, and what, of course, they're referring to is the fact that there are these North Korean workers around the world who are essentially on slave wages, and the money goes back to the government. When we were negotiating with the North Koreans, one of the issues, of course, was in the context of denuclearization, we're prepared to recognize them, establish diplomatic relations. And what I told them was, in that context, that is, establishing diplomatic relations, we would have a track devoted to the human rights question and devoted really to our efforts to try to get some improvement, move them in the right direction as part of the process of establishing diplomatic relations. That, of course, none of that happened because they didn't get to the first base, which was denuclearization.
Right, and none of that happened. And then to push back a little bit on the broader consensus, Ambassador McFaul, and both of you as ambassadors have served under previous administrations, the general rap has been that realpolitik almost always comes first. There's an NBC write-up, feel free to disagree with it, of course, but it says Ambassador Trump's following decades of U.S. policy, which has prioritized addressing North Korea's nuclear threat over holding the regime accountable for the, quote, murder, torture, rape, and starvation is perpetuated against its own citizens. I guess the question is, can we sit here with a straight face and say that this is any different than the way other State Departments in both parties have approached at least phase one of these kind of negotiations?
Well, I'd say two things. First, there's a lot of hypocrisy for the Trump administration to tear up the Iran deal when they said exactly this, that it didn't deal with all these other issues. The Obama administration said we dealt in the Iran nuclear deal with Iran nuclear weapons, and they tore it up because they didn't deal with all this other stuff. But secondly, it's not true that all administrations behave the same way. In fact, Ronald Reagan, when he was negotiating with the Soviets, he brought up human rights. He brought up human rights even at Reykjavik when talking about nuclear weapons with Gorbachev, and even before Gorbachev. One important thing that the Reagan administration did, which I think was successful, is they didn't link progress on arms control to progress on human rights, but they reserve the right. My colleague here, Secretary of State George Shultz, talks about it all the time, to be able to talk about the full range of issues that are in the bilateral relationship. So I think there's a way to talk about it without letting it get in the way of what is the highest priority, and that's to get rid of nuclear weapons.
Hey, I'm Ari Melber from MSNBC. You can see more of our videos right here, or better yet, subscribe to our YouTube channel below. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with us, and we appreciate that.